What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. We do have a project for you tonight, so let's see what we got. All right, guys, so here's the project we got tonight. As most of you that watch the channel know, I love to hunt. I have a four-wheeler that's 25 years old, and the last two times I've gone to go hunting, I've had to work on the four-wheeler to be able to get it running properly to where I can take it. Recently, when I took McCoy on his first deer hunt, I did have to do some more work to it. I realized that it was leaking fuel, and it was just to the point where I was like, okay, it's time to upgrade. And so we did. In order for me to use this rig for hunting, I do need to make some modifications to it. So let's show you guys what we're gonna do. All right, so here's the rig. Here's what we're looking at. I need to be able to mount two guns in this cab. There is a company that makes a gun rack that'll hold two guns underneath here. This is a seat, but when you flip it up, there is a company that makes this exact same setup that I'm trying to mimic, and they use this exact same type of gun gripper. And there's one here and one here. The problem is this Defender has this box under it, and so I'm afraid it might get in the way. So I'm gonna have to modify this. I am gonna try to modify this to where I can still use the same system, but I think I need to be really careful about where those mount so that when I put the seat down, they still clear. Otherwise they'll hit right there. So I am in the process of taking measurements. I've also drafted a design here that I think is going to work. So these two side brackets here, I'll go ahead and break those, and then I'll weld them to the mounting plate here. I do have the holes that I still need to put in on the mounting plate, but that's how far we are now. I'm gonna build it out of 1/8 inch aluminum and see how that works. So I'll continue working on this. When I get to the point where I have something to show you guys, I'll come back to you. All right, guys, here's the deal. The reason there's a taper is because I'm gonna break those so that the flange is a consistent width, but there's a taper on it because I want it to, the seat doesn't stand vertical. So I want to kind of kick the mounting plate out just a little bit so that it's more level. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn these first, and I'll break them and I'll mount them to the bottom of the seat, and then I'll pull my measurement from flange to flange, and that'll tell me exactly how wide I need to make my mounting plate. It'll also tell me if I have enough room to make this even work. So I'm going to do it this way. If I did have a 3D modeling program, I could probably draft this up and lay it out, and it would calculate all that for me, but I don't. So this is the method I'm going to use. All right, fire in the hole. All right, we got our parts all cleaned up here. And I'm just gonna manually bend these. So we'll see how the press brake does with that. That's where we want to break it. Kind of a tricky bend, but I think we'll be okay. All right, guys, so I just wanted to give you an update on the press brake. I'm loving this machine. It's done everything that I've asked it to do. And for a shop my size, it's about perfect. I am getting the tooling figured out. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in previous videos, but I did order a 4-sided die and punch for the machine. It will do plate, clear up to 1/2 inch, and it's been awesome so far. I do want to show you guys how you rotate the 4-sided die. I think it's a pretty slick system. So there's a hole in the top plate of the brake here. and it comes with these brackets. And this bracket here slides into this hole. The end of the die is threaded, so there's a bolt on either side. So what you do is you take these two brackets. So what I'll do is I'll drop the knife down to where I can hook this around the bolt on the end of the die, and then you go back up with the knife, and then you're able to spin the die until you get the right size of die, and then you drop it back down, pull these out, and you're good. So if you don't have a crane, I have been using the crane, but once I realized what these were for, it's actually easier to use these. So we'll do that now. So now we'll go up. See, we just lifted the die up. So now you can see the die will spin. And we'll go ahead and spin that. Until we're to the size of die that we need for 1/8 inch plate. Now we'll go back down. There we go. Drop it back down. Pull these out. Pretty slick. I'm loving that machine. Just thought you guys might want to see that. Now we'll go ahead and break these pieces of plate, and we'll see how they turn out. All right, I think that turned out. Looks good. Okay, so I'm gonna bolt these up onto the bottom of the seat and then pull a measurement, see if I can make this work. All right guys, so I think to make this process a little easier, I'm gonna drill these out and put some Riv Nuts in this. If I have 4 1/4-20 Riv Nuts, I just feel like that's going to make it easier to attach this. The videos I watched, most of them are using self-tappers. I'm not a huge fan of self-tappers in situations like this. Self-tappers have their place. I don't feel like the bottom side of my seat on my brand new side-by-side is one of those places where a self-tapper is appropriate. So we'll go ahead and drill these out now, and we'll put these Riv Nuts in. Pretty much 7 7/16 is going to do it. These two pieces basically have to be 2.5 inches apart. Ooh, that's tight. Goodness. You know, if I was to put a little crown in this, I think that might do it. Problem is, how do you calculate that and get your width right? You draft it on the computer, so that's what we're gonna do. All right guys, I apologize, the camera died in the middle of that and I didn't realize it, so let me catch you up on where we're at. I did get a 15-degree angle broke in the mounting plate. I got both gun grips mounted to the mounting plate with 1/4-20 bolts. So we're just getting ready to put this back in here. So we'll screw this back in. All right, guys, so I apologize if you missed something there. I had some camera issues. It's just part of recording what you do. So I did want to show you guys how it works. I've actually had the machine out several times now and used it, and it works great. I love it. So if you do want to ride with a third person, the seat down, it's just like normal. You're not really losing any space or anything. That's one of the things I like about this is we utilized space that really you're not using a whole lot. In the situation where you've got two riders and you want to use the gun rack, flip the seat up, it locks in place, and then you can take your guns. There's a button on here. Push that button, open up the jaws on the gun gripper, and then it closes. You push one extra time to lock it in place, and it's nice and solid. Okay, now Bridger's going to bring me his gun, and I'll lock in another one. The other thing I like, normally if the camera wasn't there, we'd bring it in from this side, but the other thing I like about it is your guns are not banging against each other. There's plenty of room for two hunters to have their equipment in here. It's solid. It still leaves you plenty of room to be comfortable while you're riding in here. Doesn't really matter how bumpy the road is, it's still nice and solid. Turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I did have to modify mine just a little bit. The whole reason that I had to put this brake in it was because I have a subwoofer under the driver's seat and the box sticks out into the middle section just a little bit. And so for me to put that brake in it, that allowed me to be able to put the gun grippers in there a little bit tighter and move them out away from each other so that we could still make it work. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you learned something. Stay tuned if you like this sort of stuff. I'm gonna have another video coming out where I build an aluminum rack for the back, and then it will hold a gas can, my toolbox, and my cooler. And that'll allow me to get my stuff up out of the bed. I'll still be able to put any gear or a deer or coyotes or whatever it is I'm hunting. They'll be able to be underneath, and I'll have my equipment elevated, so it just gives you more room. So appreciate you guys watching. Thanks as always. Tune in next time. See you on the next one. All right, guys, so just wanted to give you an update on the press. Goodness. So I'll just show you guys how this works real quick. If you want the third seat down, goodness, if you want the third seat down,